Welcome. Hi, I'm Stacey Henry-Carr. I'm a life coach, a hypnotherapist, and a meditation teacher. And I see many clients that believe that they're stuck or they have lost some level of freedom to be themselves. I like to talk about breaking generational cycles. That's one of my favorite topics. And when I hear a person talk about being stuck or feeling like their freedom have been taken away, it leads me to think, where is that coming from? Where's that thought coming from? Where is that belief coming from? Because it's such a deep-seated belief that often it takes a person a while to realize that's easily reversible. And I may caution myself on saying easy because it appears easy from the coach's perspective. It appears easy from where I'm sitting because I'm the one that does subconscious work. And I know that as we go deeper into our subconscious mind, we can really reprogram, rewire, and change a lot of stuff. But what I do realize is that often these clients, and even sometimes it's friends or acquaintances, people that I run across, family members even, they don't realize how the subconscious programming of their childhood and the subconscious programming of their past carries them into such feelings as I'm stuck or feelings that they lose their freedom to someone external of themselves. With that said, what I really want to talk about for this short period of time that I'm going to be here is two things. I want to talk about your freedom and how it starts in the mind. And then I want to talk about you and yourself as the point of attraction. So let me read this quote to you. They can take away your physical freedom, but only you can take away your mental, emotional, and soul's freedom. So I was watching a podcast, and there was a man on this podcast, a spiritual leader, and he got arrested. And he was telling the story about being arrested and that he was in jail. Actually, they took him to a prison system. He was in a different country. They took him to a prison system. And while he was there, he said for the first couple of days, he was just in such a defeated mode because what had gotten him there was so simple. And he felt like the world was on top of him and that he was never going to get out. So as he's waiting there to get the processing, 48 hours turn into 2 weeks. But at one point, another prisoner who's been there for about 8 months waiting for his way out came over to him and recognized the stress he was feeling and could see it in him and, like told him why was he so tight? Anywho, the person who had been there for 8 months said this quote to him. They can take away your physical freedom, but only you can take away your mental, emotional, and soul's freedom. And that quote hits deep. It hits deep because it speaks to the truth many of us forget. Real freedom does not live outside of you, it lives within. You can be in the most restricted of circumstances and still choose your response, your thoughts, your energy. You can still choose what you believe about yourself. You can still choose to love over fear. You can still choose to protect that passion, that fire in your soul. And that's what was happening with this man. And somebody else had to remind him. It was just the jolt he needed because then he was able to pick himself up. He was out of there in 2 weeks because he didn't belong there in the first place. But instead of sitting there in the pity of it all, he went back within. And within is a soul with fire. Within is a soul with passion. Within is the soul that, in his case, knew that I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything to be here. So let me not be defeated. Now, I'm not saying circumstances in our lives don't knock us off our feet. They absolutely do. But what I am saying is that it is our internal self that we need to work from, not external. So, that power that you have within you, that's a power that no one can touch. No one can touch that power. It's yours to keep, it's yours to hone, it's yours to stand in. No one can touch that power. No matter what happens around you, your inner world is yours to own, to shape, to liberate. And yes, many times we find ourselves into some really sticky situations. But one of the things that I constantly tell the people I talk to about these sticky situations, it's about the mind. I am a complete mind, body, spirit approach to healing. However, it starts with those thoughts, and we've all heard this before. I know this is nothing new. The thoughts create the words create your actions create your behaviors. And there is a mind, body, spirit trifecta here, but it does start with the mind. So I was talking to another client recently, and she kept saying that she was a miserable person. She wasn't saying that while we were talking, but she told me that that's what she's been telling herself, that she's a miserable person. So my question was, how have that been working out for you? And after we giggled a bit, she goes, not well, because I have been miserable. So I want you to see your entire being, your entire body as like a pole, like a frequency pole. And I want you to see your thoughts and your words as the dial. If any of you are old enough to remember the old radio dials, and every time you think a thought and say certain words, you turn that dial to a particular frequency. And your entire being sends off that energy and attracts that frequency. So the words that you say to yourself and about yourself, even about others and to others, affect your being. It radiates outward because you're that transmitter pole, and it attracts whatever it is that you're putting out. So if you're telling yourself you're miserable, if you're telling yourself things aren't going to work out, if you're telling yourself that, I'm just, things never work out for me, I'm not a good person, and whatever you tell yourself, you, as the pole, the words as the dial, you're sending that frequency out and you're attracting it into your life. So if every day you get up and you say, I'm miserable, of course, you're gonna what? Be miserable. So it's a novel idea, I know. Sometimes people say, oh, it's just, this positivity stuff. No, it's not about being positive. It's about being intentional. And because I'm intentional about my life, what I do is make sure that the words, the thoughts are redirected when they're not going to produce my desired outcome. And my words are changed and shifted when they're not going to give me the desired outcome. So it's about really putting out there what you truly desire. Other than that, you're just going to get a bunch of crap in your life. And then you're going to wonder, why is my life like this? My life is always like this. It's always like this. Check in on the thoughts, check in on the words that you are emitting. So that's what I wanted to drop in today and talk about. You know, when I talk about changing old generational cycles and changing old thoughts and old patterns, it starts with the mind and the subconscious programming and the belief system that we carry. That's where it starts. And being aware of these thoughts and being able to hold yourself accountable, not wait for someone else out there to do it for you. Right? So I really wanted to say that today. I wanted to drop that message out there. It's about freedom. The main message here is about freedom and how freedom, real freedom, is within. It does not live outside of you. It does not live outside of you. And you can be in any circumstance, any situation. And if you can remember that real freedom is within, then you can create that environment, and your response can create what you really desire. Be intentional about your words. Redirect your thoughts first, and then be intentional about your words, and you will see a major shift in your life. All right, guys. Thank you for checking in. Thank you for listening in, and I'll see you next time.